Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and today we are celebrating the second birthday of Pretty Pink Posh. It is a party in a card here. You're gonna love it. So I'm going to be using that Celebrate die along with those scallop frames. Those are from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm also going to be using this brush stroke stamp set by Mama Elephant. Now, as you can see here, I have my card front already cut down, but these long brush strokes are too long. So I'm going to show you how to remedy that and create that brush stroke along the other edge of that stamp as well. So I have that long brush stroke stamp mounted to my stamp press here, and I'm kind of figuring out how long I want these to be ultimately. So I'm kind of marking that with my finger, and I have a piece of washi tape, and that's kind of where I want it to end on my card front. So I have that left side that's already brush stroked, and then the right side I'm going to show you how to do that, how to make a brush stroke on that side instead of having it abruptly end. So now I'm just kind of planning out where I want my brush strokes to hit on my card because I'm kind of being a little bit OCD about where they're going to land, and I want them evenly spaced. So I'm just using my grid mat to mark off where I want those stripes to land. And then I realized I didn't have it centered, so I'm just going to move these up. These are going to be about 3/4 of an inch apart on the centers of them. So you'll kind of see I am marking where I want the center of each brush stroke to be. And once I get that all planned out, I have some clean water here. I have my Ranger watercolor brushes, and I have my absorber here. Now, before I ink up my stamp, I'm going to go ahead and just tap that brush on my absorber and get rid of most of the water that's in that. So now I just have this barely damp brush. And now I'm going to partially ink up the stamp, and that's where that washi tape comes into play. That's going to give me my guide of where I want to stop my inking. So I use some Hero Arts Pale Tomato ink here, and I've just partially inked that stamp. And now I'm going to take that barely damp brush and just kind of drag some of that ink out and kind of create brush stroke lines on the right side of that stamp where they are not already. And then I'll just go ahead and take this over, and I'm lining up with the center of that washi tape, and then I'm going to press it down. I'm going to give this a really good press because I'm actually using the more rough side of the Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I did that on purpose because I do want these to have a really natural brush stroke feel to them, and I thought that textured paper would help that. Now I'm going to go ahead and change colors. I'm going to show you this again, and so I've cleaned off my stamp really well with my absorber. I've rinsed out my brush here. I'm tapping off all of the excess water so that I have a barely damp brush. And now I'm going to move on to the Hero Arts Fresh Peach ink. And once again, I'm just going to ink up right to that washi tape line. And then I'm going to take my barely damp brush and just pull out that color again. And this time when I stamp my stamp, I'm going to flip it around so that the left side of that stamp is now on the right side. So I kind of have a variation of where that kind of pre-done brush stroke is and then the one I'm making so that it's kind of not all uniform. Now you can see I didn't get a really satisfactory impression on this one. So I'm just taking that barely damp brush again, and I'm just kind of putting it onto my Fresh Peach ink pad and just kind of faking it here. So I'm just adding a little more ink to that area. Now, once again, I have changed colors. I've cleaned off my stamp pad, and I'm using the Butter Bar ink and flipping that back around to where that pre-made brush stroke is on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to stamp that onto my project, and I'm just going to keep repeating this. So I've used Pale Tomato, Fresh Peach, Butter Bar, Lime, and this is finishing off the card front, and this is Tide Pool. So those are all Hero Arts shadow inks, and I'm just stamping those all evenly spaced onto this card front. And you can see when I lift up, I have this really nice rainbow effect. So now that I have my stamping done, I'm going to go ahead and do some die cutting. I have some Stick-It adhesive here, and I am going to create that Pretty Pink Posh scallop frame, but I want it to be a little bit dimensional because I'm going to have the shaker portion of this card pop up off of the front of that card. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding this Stick-It adhesive. This is a really thin adhesive. It's great for die cutting. I'm adding it to a piece of fun foam, and then I'm pressing it on there really well. Now, if you don't get this pressed on really well, you'll have areas where that adhesive is kind of coming up with the backer. Make sure you kind of burnish it really well onto that fun foam. In fact, it's probably better if you add it to the cardstock instead of the fun foam and then add the fun foam to the cardstock, but I am kind of like Amelia Bedelia, and I like to do things the hard way. That's what my mom always called me growing up. And now that I have that kind of sandwich created with the fun foam, the stick it adhesive, and then the glitter cardstock, I am going to take the smaller of the scallop frames from Pretty Pink Posh and run it through my Big Shot die cut machine. Now I am using my precision base plate here, and I am getting a really great cut. So if you don't have this and you're not getting a really nice clean cut, you may want to try adding a shim to your sandwich. Now I've made the same sandwich again with the fun foam, the stick it adhesive, but this time I've used a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock. By adding that cardstock to the fun foam, it helps the fun foam maintain its shape so that it doesn't get all squished out. And that's why I like to add the cardstock to it. And I'm going to just finish up my die cutting here by cutting this Celebrate die. This is from an Essentials by Ellen die set, and I'll have that linked below. And I did add a piece of stick it adhesive to the back of that black cardstock before I cut that with my die cut machine. And that way, when I go to adhere that really intricate die, I will have the adhesive already on the back. Now I kind of wanted to create a landing place for this die cut sentiment. So what I've done is I've just stacked up a really thin strip of that gold glitter paper and a piece of the striped paper from the Avery Ells Neutrals pad. And now I'm going to start assembling this card. So I'm going to add the white frame down first. And I'm just using a little liquid adhesive, the Tombow Mono Multi Glue. And I kind of had too much squish out at first, so I used a piece of cardstock to kind of spread that around. And now I'm adding a little bit of Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker to all of those brush strokes just to give them a little shine. And then I can go ahead and adhere that white frame onto the card front. I've kind of just added it at an angle there just for a little bit of interest. It also helped me get more of that color inside of the frame. And now I'm just adding this little kind of element here with a little tape runner adhesive, and I'm going to use my craft pick here to help me lift up the edge of that backer on the stick it adhesive, and I am just going to position that into my shaker window. And I'm just using my tweezers here so that I can get it positioned just right. And the nice thing about that stick it adhesive is that you can kind of move it around for a while, but once you get your die cut element or whatever it is in place, go ahead and burnish it down and that will keep it permanently in place. So now it is time to create this party in a card, and I am going to add all kinds of sparkle to this card. So I've started out with my new favorite from Pretty Pink Posh, which is the iridescent mini star confetti. And then I've added a whole bunch of different sizes of the sparkling clear sequins, and I'm going to finish the shaker mix off with a little bit more of the mini star confetti, but this time in the gold. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some more of that liquid glue, and I'm just adding a piece of clear acetate. This is from the Essentials by Ellen line. I happen to love this acetate. It is a nice weight and it's crystal clear. It's beautiful acetate. Then I'll add another layer of that liquid adhesive and position my gold glitter frame over the top of that. And you can see all of the sparkle in this card. I'm telling you, it's like a party in a card, and I just love the way that it turns out, probably because of all of the color and the sparkle. Now I thought the edge of this card front needed a little something, so I'm going to repeat that element that I put inside of the shaker window, that striped pattern paper element. So I'm just taking a little scrap there. You saw it was actually from the very top of that paper because it had the little like hanger tag hole in it. And I've just added it onto the side with a little tape runner adhesive. And now I'm going to round the lower right-hand corner with my We Are Memory Keepers 3/8" corner chomper. You saw me kind of think about doing that other corner as well, but I ended up not doing it. So now it's time to adhere this onto my card base. I've just used a little bit of white linen cardstock from the Essentials by Ellen line and some tape runner adhesive once again to adhere that onto my card front, which I also rounded the bottom right-hand corner of that card front with my corner chomper as well. And now I am adding some sequins to the top of that window, and they'll kind of stay in place as everything shakes around. So there it is, my finished card project for today. Like I said, it is like a party in a card. It's got all sorts of color and shimmer and shine. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project over at my blog, and I will link the featured products in the description below at YouTube. And make sure you head on over to my blog for more information about this Pretty Pink Posh celebration for their second birthday, as well as more still shots and more information on this project. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this project, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.